Welcome to Squirrel, the podcast for distracted writers, hosted by Candace J. Thomas and Jody L. Milner. Hey everybody, welcome to Squirrel. This is Jody.
This is Candace.
And we are celebrating this week. We are celebrating. It's not
We're
just an episode.
Tomorrow, I'm going to put I don't know, Vaseline on your door or cellophane over your toilet.
Please don't. You'd have to drive all the way out to my house to do that. I admire that commitment.
I have ways.
Please don't. All right. In celebration, in pre-celebration of April Fool's Day tomorrow for those in the States, we shall be talking about the Trickster Archetype. Because tricksters are all about deception, trickery, and pulling the wool over people's eyes. It's the perfect inspiration for crafting unreliable characters, deception-driven plots, and unexpected twists in a story. Which I feel like this is a nice little segue from the Betrayal episode, which has got a lot of the same attributes with twists and unexpected changes.
Yeah, but I think Tricksters, it's not specifically a betrayal.
No, it's the fun flavor.
Yeah.
It's the Skittles.
It is. It's the silliness. It's like, I don't know, bells on feet or something. Then it's okay.
It's almost like a little bit lighthearted and goofy, although there are some very serious ones, but for most of them, they're just characters you kind of want to like.
If you're naming them Tricksters, I already like them.
Yeah.
So
the first thing I want to dive into is just why we like to be fooled by our fiction or by what we're watching. Why do we like that unexpected twist?
That's a very good question. I think it is, I don't know. I like it when I didn't see something coming. How about that? I always like that. Oh, man, I sit next to my sister who we'll be watching a movie and she always is trying to guess the ending. And most of the times she is right. So it's very hard for me to sit next to her because I like the surprise. I like not knowing. I like it revealed to me. I specifically I delight in cleverness. So if it's one of these tricksters that really makes me go, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I can't believe they just did this to me. I love that. I can think of, there's a movie called The Spanish Prisoner, and I'm sure that nobody's seen this, but it really pulled the wool over my eyes. The whole thing, I was absolutely in it. I was understanding everything, and then halfway through the movie, I'm like, I don't know what I'm watching anymore, because the movie I was watching first does not exist anymore, and I loved it so much. It's one of the reasons why I like it. I appreciate that cleverness. So then I'm all in for forever on.
Absolutely. So I think readers and watchers, consumers of media, as it were,
Sure.
I think they want to be deceived. But I think they want to be deceived in a good way, not in a cheap way.
Yeah, that's
Because
it.
We've all had we've been watching something or reading something, and then there's this twist where it's just like, what the actual?
Yeah, a lot that are very disappointing. You're
where it's
what is
that's
happening?
Stupid.
Why is it aliens?
They could have done that so much better. It's got to be deserved. It's got to be fair. It's got to make sense to the story. So a really well executed deception makes you rethink everything you thought you knew about the story. And that's what makes readers and watchers come back.
Yeah.
It's why I've watched Inception multiple times.
Oh, right.
It's why I've watched the one with Matthew McConaughey in the cornfields. Dang it, what was that one? We'll come back to it.
Matthew McConaughey in the cornfields?
No, it's a space one with
Signs?
No, that's not Matthew McConaughey.
I know, but I'm trying to think of a cornfield. I guess I don't know.
Dang it, it's gonna come to me probably halfway through the episode. Just watch. Okay. It's like we want to watch it to see what clues we missed the first time because we're like, that makes such sense.
Yes.
How did they do that?
Yeah.
I want to Google that
movie. Yeah. You can.
I can while you're making your next point.
Yes. So,
hang on.
Famous tricksters in fiction and folklore. I picked 3. The first one I picked was Tinkerbell. Because I felt that she was first of all,
It is Interstellar.
I've never seen Interstellar.
You need to see Interstellar. Okay, going on with Tinkerbell.
Yes, Tinkerbell. Okay. Tinkerbell is specifically, she's a fairy and endearing, and I want to love her so much. She is super jealous of Wendy, and she doesn't care about the consequences. So that makes her so much fun. Now, the villain in Peter Pan is Captain Hook, not
Yes.
specifically Tinkerbell.
But
she
Tinkerbell
went,
sometimes is super unhelpful.
oh no, yeah, she absolutely doesn't care. She's like, no, you can do whatever you want because she's a fairy, and fairies are,
And she's so tiny.
pixie-likes
She can
and-
only have one emotion at a time.
she only can make little bell sounds. So that's the thing with Tinkerbell. She can't really speak, right? I also picked the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland.
Is a good choice.
Yeah, he is just one of my favorites always. He's bonkers. I love bonkers characters. They're chaotic. You can't even guess
Well,
what
and
they're
he's
gonna do.
delightful to watch because of it.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating.
And so even when you see a crescent moon, I'm like, oh, it's a Cheshire Cat smile. He's smiling down on us, and he's going to send us off into a different way that we're not supposed to go, So that's why he's so much fun in the story. Someone that the audience adores because he's unpredictable. Love it. And a lot of just fairy tales in general. We did fairy tale retellings recently, and so it's still in my brain. But like Rumpelstiltskin or the witch from like Hansel and Gretel, the wolf from Little Red Riding Hood, Pied Piper. Pied Piper, I mean, I know that's a real story, but the legend of it is just kind of creepy. And it makes me be more invested in it, get a little bit more curious about it, the whole story, and how the children were led away by this trickster. I don't know.
It's
It's
like,
very cool.
you won't pay me to get rid of your rats? I'll show you.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
I
We'll
could
do
totally do that.
it.
Ooh, those are good ones. All right, I have some very traditional tricksters. And so my first and very favorite top one, Loki. Loki, he's a shapeshifter for starters, which means he can do all sorts of interesting things, but he's this weirdly chaotic force. And Marvel Universe shows this really, really well because he's only doing it for his own benefit.
Oh, yeah,
He
for
is
sure.
he is on
He doesn't care.
nobody's team. Even when you think he's on somebody's team, he's on Team Loki. Sometimes Team Loki is aligned with the people trying to do the better thing, but for the most time he's just Team Loki. I do get a kick out of it. There's one trickster called Anansi, and I got to know this one because I read The Anansi Boys, which is it's not a Stephen King.
Is Neil Gaiman.
It's a Neil Gaiman, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
And it is Gaiman's already a fascinating writer. He pulls all these tidbits of history and folklore and all these little juicy nuggets of culture into his writing. And so Anansi Boys was really interesting because it's a spider god.
That sounds
Like-
terrifying.
But in the book, it doesn't, he is dressed as like a creepy lounge singer, I think.
That makes sense.
And so he's kind of like this prickly, deceiving, very smooth talking. He could get people to do anything he wanted just by talking them into it. And so one of the kids, he convinced everyone to call Fat Boy, or he's a skinny little thing. But he thought it was just so funny that anyway, I thought that was a delightful one. And then, of course, we have to do the Joker from Batman.
Yes.
He is one of the most chaotic tricksters out there, and to the point where it's like super chaos. And so he's almost a little bit unsettling to watch because he's dangerous.
Yes. You also mentioned Puck.
I did originally have Puck on the list.
You did. Did you take it off? It's still on my list.
You got it before I did. I edited mine.
It's okay. Yeah, Puck. I like that you mentioned Puck because that is somebody in A Midsummer Night's Dream he's central to the whole plot in tricking people in loving this, I don't know, donkey of a man. It's hilarious. But it's also one of those, this is an old play that we all should know who Puck is, being this little sprightly little, devilish little clever person sprite that goes around and
I
does
swear
things.
he's just doing it because he thinks it's going to be fun.
Yeah, exactly.
That's his only motivation.
So, yep.
So when we've talked about famous tricksters, but I want to talk about tricksters more in a broad sense, and we can kind of shuffle them into two categories. We have tricksters as agents of chaos and tricksters as heroes. And so we have 4 kind of flavors of tricksters that we can talk about, and we've kind of each chosen the ones that we were drawn to more in this list. And so what was your first one?
Chaotic tricksters. As I said with the Cheshire Cat, it's almost as if they speak this, they almost speak the same language as me, this like when they're bonkers, when they're chaos. I'm not a huge like chaotic trickster person, but I identify more with the bonkers side of things.
So the person who just threatened to Vaseline my doorknobs.
Just maybe.
Just
saying.
maybe.
No, but the chaotic tricksters, I find I'm more drawn to when it comes to those specific archetypes.
So the first one I was drawn to is the one that's the benevolent trickster. And so this is someone who uses deceptions and these little acts of silliness almost to expose corruption. And so this is Robin Hood and this is Zorro.
Well, those are good ones.
So they're good characters, but the people who have the money and the power who are corrupt really don't like them because everything they do is meant to bring down corruption in a system and to get the honest, good people what they deserve. So I really like benevolent tricksters. To be fair, Tyrion Lannister, played by Peter Dinklage, he could not say the word benevolent either.
Really?
And there are famous outtakes of them putting it in the script just to
Benevolent?
mess with him.
Really?
Yes.
Is that like
The
Benedict?
benevolent overlords of Astapor. He could not say it for the life of him.
I'm impressed that you said it just then.
I am too. I don't think I'll ever be able to do it again.
Like when Benedict Cumberbatch can't say penguins.
It's on the same
penguin,
page, I
yeah.
think.
That's so funny. Okay, told squirrel. All right, I love the survivor tricksters, or like the super clever ones. They use cleverness to outwit their foe. And something that is a lesson learned by their opponent or something. I thought specifically of the Dread Pirate Roberts.
Oh, that's awesome.
When he outwits Vicini.
And even Wesley's story outwitting the Dread Pirate Roberts.
Yes.
It's the same vein.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the one that I just felt like that was, that's a perfect example for me to think of that clever trickster.
And then the last trickster is the tragic trickster. This entire episode has tongue twisters in it.
I love it.
Tragic trickster. So this is someone who their own lies and schemings eventually catch up to them, and they usually have a pretty dark backstory. And this comes back to Loki, who he has a bit of a dark backstory, and the stuff that he ends up doing bites him in the butt all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like he ends up getting the short end of the stick because he tried to pull the wool over someone else's eyes. He tried to manipulate someone.
Consequences of his actions.
He gets consequenced constantly.
His fault.
All right, now y'all want to know how to use these guys. How do we use tricksters in our writing?
Good question,
I think that's an amazing question.
Tricksters are often morally ambiguous. We've got lots of good words in this one. Sometimes helping, sometimes harming. I always feel that I don't know where the Joker lies, whereas we talked about the Joker, because in the animated series, which is my personal favorite, I'll be honest, it is often that they need each other and they like almost like they're friends. But they're not, but they're
like
constantly
Batman needs the Joker.
Yeah, like he'll show up. You had the episode is actually about Two-Face, but then the Joker shows up, but Batman needs the Joker to do something for him, and because of his tricks. So I thought that was really interesting that be morally ambiguous. The Cheshire Cat doesn't care about you or your friends or the direction you're going or whatever. He's just there to play a joke and to witness it unfold in this unfolding drama, and then he's ready with popcorn. That's what's so funny about the Cheshire Cat.
Maybe you should go down that rabbit hole. I wonder what would happen if you did
do
that.
a whole episode on that.
Okay, so a good trickster thrives on loopholes and exploiting rules. So it's the trickster that's going to twist expectations and make everything their own game where they can win regardless of the cost. Their goal is to win, and if they can't win, it's to have fun. And therefore, they're going to be the ones that, and this leads it into how we can use tricksters to reveal uncomfortable truths in society. Like Robin Hood and Zorro are revealing that the wealthy are corrupt, which is an uncomfortable truth. But I have a different example. Okay, stupid office rules. And we hear these stories like on Reddit. So if there's a really, really demanding manager that's like, you have to clock in at exactly 9 and you have to clock out at exactly 5 and your breaks have to be this and this. The trickster's going to do exactly this. It's exactly 9. They're there. It's exactly 5. They are gone. Poof. It doesn't matter if their work is done or not. They are gone. If the manager's like, you have to do and finish this. He's like, no, I'm sorry. You said I had to. I had to be gone by 5. I'm so sorry. Poof, I'm gone.
Just being
and it just points out how stupid the rule is.
Yes.
It shines that flashlight on just how stupid the rules are. So they like the loopholes, they like exploiting rules, but they do that to reveal these uncomfortable truths and things that need to be fixed a lot of the time.
You were reminding me of Office Space.
Ooh, yes.
Office Space has that in like spades.
Yes, so, absolutely.
Everyone go watch Office Space, please.
I haven't seen that in ages.
Oh my gosh, right?
Uh-huh.
I had to reference the red stapler the other day.
My swing like stapler.
I believe you have my stapler. Okay, sorry.
Right.
Something I wanted to bring up is not all tricksters are villains, and we talked about this before, but I wouldn't call them heroes either. I think there is sometimes a sacrifice that needs to be made to help redeem their character, and I think some of them are plot devices to stir direction for the main character, right? Like Tinkerbell, she's not a villain, but she helps direct that story arc in the end. So,
and Loki honestly does the same thing where he does something that seems very selfless in the end. He did have a trick up his sleeve, but he did something very selfless that was like, this seems out of character for you to save some other people. And then turns out that he was lying the whole time, but it worked. Like you said, he exploited a rule. He found a loophole. All right. So this last 2 bits of the episode, I asked Candy to come up with a specific angle on tricksters that she thought would be fascinating to talk about. And then I'm supposed to come up with my own as well. So what was the one you came up with?
Trickster's relationship with authority. And you just talked about, but let's talk about this. I like the idea that the tricksters thinks themselves above the law, just like above the rules, that they feel a bit untouchable. I know that Loki was much like that in the Marvel movies. Boy, we really hitting Loki.
Hard. He's a good character. I really like him.
I can think in Ragnarok,
brings me joy.
He was completely willing to say and do whatever he needed to do, and it didn't even matter. So, and you still never quite trust him ever. I can think tricksters often challenge the establishment and expose flaws in authority figures. We talked about that. They may poke fun at the powerful, but sometimes end up entangled in their own schemes. Famous examples, I would say Bugs Bunny.
Ooh,
Bugs Bunny is a really great example of outsmarting those who try to take control of
that Wesley Wabbit.
Is the best trickster ever. So, Jody, what did you come up with?
I wanted to talk about how tricksters are morally gray. And
Okay.
in the best of ways, because I love me a morally gray character. Like they're just so fascinating. You're like, I don't know what they're going to choose in this situation because they could be the good guy, but they could be the not so good guy. So, like we were saying, tricksters operate using their own set of rules, and they might not be moral rules or ethical rules, but they also have some sort of code of honor. So, like Robin Hood, like he would always steal from the wealthy, and he had the goal of giving it to the poor. But like other tricksters, like the Joker, his code of honor wasn't to, uphold the poor. His was to
It's
just
completely self-serving.
thumb his nose at any form of authority at all, and try to just have the most fun possible without getting in trouble. And like for him, fun was robbing banks. Fun was blowing up sewer systems.
Yeah.
Like
Setting Gotham on fire.
setting things on fire. Like he was just there to have an amazing time and just really tick off the people in charge. So he kind of had his own code of ethics where as long as he didn't get hurt and he had a great time, then it was A-okay.
Even if he did get hurt, he wouldn't care. He was still laughing at it. So I remember specifically an episode where he was losing teeth and he was still laughing about it. Funny. All right.
So this is the one where I was supposed to write some finishing thoughts.
Finishing thoughts.
Usually I remember to do that. Huh. Would you look at that? Okay, I think we don't need to say a lot more about this, but I think everyone likes the idea of a trickster, but I think very few writers remember that that's an option when they're kind of creating their cast of characters, to have a fun-loving, morally gray, zany, bonkers character that you never quite know what's going to happen, and they throw the story on its head right and left when necessary. So I think it would be really fun to play with this idea, which leads us to our listener assignment, where identify a character who you think might secretly deep down have this little bit of a trickster in them, and see if you can bring it out just a little bit more. And I think it's going to make them better and even more fun to write by just kind of amping it up a tiny bit more.
That's a great idea.
I think it'd be great.
Super great.
I would love you to tell us all about the next episode.
We're going to talk about cats. I call it cat-like typing detected. We're going to talk about cats, how to write them, how they're in stories, why we love them, why they're so funny, and why they take all of our attention. That's all we want to watch is cats. And yeah, that's
why
what
cat videos are still the #1 videos on
I
the
will
internet.
watch any cat video anytime because they're so much fun. So we're going to talk about cats.
Yeehaw.
Yes.
Alrighty, I'm looking forward to that.
You are
Until
so
then-
not looking forward to that. It's going to be
Did
great.
the sarcasm come out? I feel like the sarcasm came out.
It's going to be great.
Okay. If you liked anything we said today, we have a Patreon, we have a Buy Us a Coffee, and if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and share.
Share those cat videos. I want to
This-
see them.
This has been delightful. Thank you for being my co-trickster.
Yeah, you bet.
All right. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Squirrel Podcast for the Distracted Writer with Candace J. Thomas and Jody L. Milner. Please like and subscribe to our podcast for updates and new episodes, and find more information at our website, squirrelpodcast.com. Stay distracted, everyone.
So the first one that drew my eye was the benevolent. That's going to be a fun one to say.
Okay.
Benevolent tricksters.
Do you want to just try that over again?
Then Alice in Wonderland webisode. And Alice in Wonderland.
You can tell
episode.
it's late, man.
Oh, loopy.